Welcome again. This time, a brand new, first time in 2025 and the first time ever here on Tailgate TV. We are going to have a little bit of a rundown, a short, get you up to date on the January month of 2025 in sports around the area. We've got every team on here that I could think of that we could find information on. Sometimes it's hard to find information, and if coaches don't share it or other people don't share it, it's hard to find information when you're just going to the websites that we have. But so if you have a coach out there and you're like, hey, we want our team on there, talk to them. Say, hey, send that stuff to Tailgate TV. We'd love to share it. We want to share it. And also, I'll say this, if you're a parent and you keep stats for your team, for your games, send it. We'll get some news out there on them. I promise you that.
Absolutely. So, whenever we have a lack of news, it's because somebody didn't share it with us, and that's the only reason.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yep. But we do know.
You can't share what you don't know.
But we do know some stuff, and we're here to tell you what we know. Which
short segment.
I was going to say easy for you, so we're going to keep it quick. Telling you what we don't know would take longer.
Yes.
But we'll just jump right into it. As he said, we are going to try to keep these quick. Just a monthly recap of sports in the area. We'll start with Butler because they're first on my list here. Butler recently, this week, the boys, the girls are at Appleton, which we'll get to. I'm sorry, Archie, which we'll get to in a minute. But the boys lost to Pleasant Hill. It was a close game, 43-48.
What game was? When was that?
That was Wednesday night.
This Wednesday.
Yes.
Last Wednesday.
Yes,
okay.
Wednesday night. And if it sounds like a familiar score, they played Pleasant Hill earlier in the year and lost 49-43. So 48-43 this time. And we'll say the Bears this month really struggled with injuries. They're getting a little bit back to healthy, as I think Malik came back.
He did.
And had a pretty good game. I think he had 14, 15 points, something like that.
Hit a big three. I saw him do that.
Yes. And again, the Bears still have a couple folks out, so
yes.
They're getting back to form. I think Brad's got their record for the month.
Bears are 3-11 overall. They've really struggled this year. They were 2-5 in the month of January, and I know Coach Birch and Coach Treble are trying to do everything they can. Again, you mentioned it. We had some injuries during the football season that kind of bled into the basketball season. Once that got around where we kind of had a group of guys, then they had to kind of learn how to play together because we've got some new kids come in.
Young kids have played great this month.
They played really well. And again, really smart coach told me one time that freshmen and sophomores, I would say, if they didn't play a lot of varsity minutes, once they get to Christmas, they're no longer freshmen, they're sophomores. Sophomores are juniors. So that kind of coincides with what you're talking about and then playing better.
And just to mention some names, some of the underclassmen that have performed well this month, they had to step up. Braxton Delosier, Davidson, Phillips. I know I'm forgetting others, but there's been a handful of folks who have really come up. Grubb was a big one. But there's been some folks that have stepped up because staying on Butler and about these injuries, they lost to Versailles earlier this month, and that was an overtime loss. They battled back. They were trailing. They had a huge comeback and fought into overtime, lost by 5. But that was the game where they really saw some injuries. That was the game that Carter and Treble both went out. I think Payne had fouled out that game, and then Mallet, of course, went out a couple games before that. So that's kind of been the Butler boys' month.
Moving on to the girls, they're 5-10 on the year, 2-5. I've really been impressed. They've played their first tournament game really, really well.
Yes.
Move into the winner's bracket, and then I don't want to say the wheels have fallen off, but the wheels have kind of fallen off.
Are you talking about at which tournament?
Every one of them.
With the exception of maybe Stockton. I don't remember how they did at that
They
one.
won their first one, I think, and then they lost the next two. The same thing happened in the Clinton tournament. The same thing happened.
Yes, beat Adrian, I believe, first round of Clinton. It looked really good.
Yes. Archie's kind of working out the same way. They play a good. I believe they play Archie Saturday night. Mm-hmm. The first. Will that be the 1st of February?
Yes.
In the third place game. Archie, very good. I think they've only lost 2 ball games this year, but
and the Bears got there by
beating Drexel.
Yes, a very convincing win over Drexel. The Bears did a lot of things right. Started the game 0-14, and then came back and was on fire and just showed some fighting resilience and ended up with a pretty convincing win at the end of that. Then they faced a really tough one-seeded Lone Jack. And
a very convincing loss.
Yes. The script was flipped.
Yes.
And so now we'll see what happens Saturday.
And rounding out Butler, the 3 conference championships won by the Butler Wrestlers. Very.
They went to Warsaw for the Ozark Highland Conference meet.
Your favorite place to go.
Favorite place, absolutely. So happy we're not going to Warsaw anytime soon. But they came out with 3 conference champions on the wrestling side. Kellen Long, Damian Alkire, and then Carly Patrick for the ladies.
Yes.
So Bears really had a great outing in conference wrestling.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we've got districts coming up pretty quickly on the wrestling side. And
that'll be on next month's recap.
Yes, but be sure, if you have never been to a wrestling meet, you need to go to one of those. You will really enjoy it. The kids all work hard. And again, district, there's a lot of things riding on that. Obviously, the chance to go to state and some other things. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so that really wraps up kind of the Butler boys and girls, what they've been doing this month. We'll move down to Rich Hill, who, Rich Hill, especially on the boys' side, is just kind of rolling. Yep. We've been talking about tournaments. They did go to that Appleton City tournament. They pretty convincing wins in both round 1 and round 2. And then they went to face a really good Osceola team. And they ended up squeaking by. I think it was a 9-point win. But Osceola walks away with second place. Rich Hill walks away with the championship.
With Osceola, and I know they're not in our county. However, they're just right outside it. Everybody knows the Osceola Indians, and they are good in both sides, boys and girls. And from Osceola, the girls won the Appleton City tournament.
The boys came in second.
And the boys came in second. So they were right there on both sides of it.
And some podcast connections, as Cameron Self is helping on that coaching staff for the Osceola women, who's been on the podcast, friend of the show, played ball at Adrian herself. So
yes, she did.
Kind of a local gal that we like.
Yeah, she does a good job down there. Both of their coaches do a great job. But 13-3 for the boys. Yeah, from Rich Hill, 5-1 this month. Coach Morgan and Coach Harding down there really doing a nice job of having those boys prepared. A lot of talent on that team, and a lot of talent that have played for a few years.
Yes, well, and to mention some of that talent, I think they now have 2 players who have reached the 1,000-point mark. One of them did it this month. I think Dylan Kuntz has done that early on this year, and then Zane Becker got his 1,000th point this month.
Awesome.
I believe it was the Osceola game where they turned around. So they beat Osceola in the Appleton City Championship. 3 days later, they played them on Saturday. Turned around on Tuesday, Osceola came to Rich Hill. So everybody knew it was going to be a game. And Osceola lost that one, but only by 2. It was a very good game. And I believe that may be the game that Becker hit his 1,000th point, but I know it was some game this month.
And I'll tell you, what a beautiful place they have down there to play
Yes.
basketball. Very nice complex. Coach Kuntz, down there at Rich Hill, 7-7 on the year, 2-4 this month. And as I'm looking down through here, boy, it's kind of one side or the other. Either you've struggled a little bit. Obviously, the Butler boys and both Butler girls have both struggled a little bit in January. Rich Hill struggled a little bit in January. However, Rich Hill 5-1 on the year or this month. Adrian 5-2 boys and 3-2 for the girls. So those 3 teams are kind of at the other end of the spectrum. They're having a good January, looking forward into going in. And basketball becomes a long month, a long season this month especially.
Yes.
You have, you start off late November, and then you're really busy through December. Coming to January, this is where you hit the really the bulk of the tournaments come through here. And then now you come out of those tournaments looking forward to February, which is, again, getting seeded for districts, going into districts, and then obviously, hopefully moving on to state. But again, gearing toward the right direction is the Rich Hill boys.
Yes, yeah, and they have been all season. Really there for a long time, up until Hermitage beat them this month.
Right, which very solid ball
Yes,
club always.
yes. But up until then, their only 2 losses came at the Butler tournament, which I think the same thing kind of happened to them last year.
Right.
But yeah, very good team. And then just to kind of wrap this up, Miami has done some big things this month. They've each claimed a couple wins, and they've been struggling a little bit previously. So I know the girls they had a heck of a game against Humansville. Came away with a 45-43 win against Humanville. I think they might have collected another one this month.
Yeah, the girls 4-13 on the year, but 2-6 now. I will say, Coach Isaacson's done a good job over there. This was a team that didn't win a ball game last year. I don't know.
They've got some players.
The talent that came in, but I know he's got the girls going in the right direction. I know there's some players over there that I expected to play, and then I heard, well, they're not playing or they're not doing this or that, and I was really kind of surprised because the young lady I'm thinking about would have helped them quite a little bit this year as a junior. But on the boys' side, 7-10 on the year, they're 3-5, and I know again, Miami being a smaller school in a smaller conference, they struggle at times, but they're doing a fine job this year over there, and they're going to hopefully can sneak up on some people down the stretch.
Yeah, I think they've kind of already been doing that a little bit this month.
Yep.
But that's what we have for you guys this month. Again, we'd like to thank everybody who makes this possible. Would like to thank all of the coaches and admin and bookkeepers that work with us, getting us this information, letting us put articles out, write-ups about the kids, do this thing where we can just get information out, highlight the things going on in Bates County and just around it. Also, I'd like to thank our sponsors because they play a big role in making this happen. Mid-America Live obviously helps put us out there. Sonic hooks us up as our lead sponsor. 03 Customs always has us looking good. And I mean, really,
Fixed to look better, by the way.
Yeah, he's now doing T-shirts. He's doing hoodies. He's doing anything. He's got leather koozies he can do. He's doing all kinds of stuff, and the list goes on and on. But we also have Emmanuel Baptist Church that works with us. We have
Chamber of Commerce,
Butler
Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. We have CNS Graphics.
Yeah, but Prepcast. Everybody, they do a great job. We appreciate them very much.
And we
Go ahead.
appreciate you
Yes.
for watching us.
Yes.